the story. I am sorry I have to focus on the road here, but last night, yesterday was Holocaust Memorial Day, and appropriately I saw the most amazing movie. If you haven't seen this movie, you must see it. It's called Defiance. Amazing. But in the intros where they show other movies, so they had an ad, and one of these ads said, every nation lives by a vision. If we don't have a vision, we don't have a past, a present, or a future. And in fact, this is the great problem that has happened to the Western society, is that we've lost vision. And ironically, some of the reasons we lose vision is because our vision gets fulfilled. Let me give you an example. America had a vision. By the way, the background music is Lubavitcher Rebbe speaking, which is very calming. So anyway, America had a vision, and the vision was a lack of tyranny. And they managed to create that vision. Israel also had a similar idea. They created a vision, which is, at least the Zionists, they had a vision, which was that there should be a safe home for Jews. But then once that vision gets fulfilled, there's no more vision. And then the next generation that grows up without any purpose, they are, like we are today. As Einstein said, it seems to me our primary problem is a confusion of aims and a perfection of means. We've got every single app in the world, we've got all the technology, we're living in science fiction. And yet, people are depressed, they're not communicating properly, the world is a mess. So, the answer to this is that we have to have a vision. We have to understand what exactly is going on. And once you have this vision, you will live the most amazing life possible. And let me share with you, because I am the rabbi of KabbalahWisdom.org, just to give a little bit of credibility, I was the co-founder of the Beth Medrash Advanced Jewish Studies at Yale University's Jewish Student Union. I was the founder of the Beth Medrash program, an accredited program at SUNY State University of New York. I was a lecturer on linguistics in Kansas University. Anyway, just take it from me. I'm a credible source. So anyway, make a long story short, here's the vision. In the beginning, God created you. Now, that might seem like a very kind of backward statement. What does that mean in the beginning? Many people read the Bible and they think it's like an old-fashioned book. In fact, Einstein, whom I'm a very big fan of, especially from his spiritual perspective, Einstein thought that the Bible was a book of fairy tales, old-fashioned stuff, a story a few thousand years ago. But the truth is, the Bible is not only a story, it's a destiny. It is the future of humanity. And when the Bible says in the beginning, it doesn't mean time-wise, because there was a time before time. I don't want to get too scientific, because I've got an ability to just keep on talking. But the bottom line is, both according to Einstein and Kabbalah, time is a creation. There was a time when there was no time. There was only the Creator. So in other words, everything that exists, when we say in the beginning, it means there was a desire. In the desire to create. So what exactly was God's desire to create? What was the purpose of creation? So, to make a long story short, there's a whole field of wisdom called Kabbalah. We believe Kabbalah actually means received wisdom. It started with Moses. God gave Moses this interpretation, and the Bible can be studied on 4 different layers. It was also called Soid, secret. It was passed down. It was only revealed, and even then it was pretty much concealed. It was revealed by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai about 2,000 years ago, and then it was only studied by the greatest masters in a generation. It could be a few people, and it was passed kind of in this unbroken chain, and only recently, since the time of the Holy Baal Shem Tov, has some of it begun to be revealed in a form called Chassidus. Anyway, so Kabbalah teaches that ultimately, and this is really a very beautiful concept, in the beginning, God decided to marry you. Now, there are two kinds of marriages. There's a friend of mine, Yossi Benashevitz, a real genius, he says, what we call in the West love is lust. Because love is not about me, love is only about you. A real love is like a parent to the child. Why do I love the child? I don't love the child because there's something in it for me. I love the child because it's an unconditional love. When I love someone and there's something in it for me, it's like loving chicken. A man was once eating chicken and he tells his friends, I love chicken. So his friend said, really? So why are you stabbing it? So you see, love is an emotion that is selfless. If love is selfish, that's lust, it's not love. So what is the most selfless thing a person can do? That is to give themselves to another. So therefore, it's exactly the paradigm. In fact, on many levels, many things that God does is to give us a paradigm and understanding of Him. It's exactly the paradigm of a parent or a normal parent and their child. A healthy parent with healthy self-esteem, which doesn't seek the child for their own ego, God forbid. So what do they want? I have a son. I love my son dearly. So I give him the space. He can do whatever he wants. And at the same time, I'm always there to guide him. I'm always there to try to influence him. But I do it in such a way that he feels not compelled to take my guidance. And anytime he'll ever say to me, "Todd, I'd like some wisdom," boy, am I there for him. So there's a dual relationship. On one hand, I'm very, very happy for him to develop himself. Nothing would make me happier that he himself comes to the conclusions of goodness and kindness and gives up any kind of childish attitudes just to be good and kind. Yet, of course, I'm there for him every moment, and I'm trying to make him a better person all the time. But I do that in a way in which he doesn't feel coerced in any way, shape, or form. I do that in a way that he knows that my love for him is unconditional, and I will always be there for him in whatever state he is in. So ultimately, God obviously is not limited like I am. And when God says that He is going to do something, eventually it happens. So what exactly is it that God decided to do? So God decided to have an intimate union with us. And an intimate union means that you have two people, but they become so attached to each other that they don't even have to say anything. Couples who live together for 50, 60 years, it's very, very interesting. If you ever see older couples that have a good relationship and they're married for 50, 60 years, they hardly communicate. They're like 2 feet walking in tandem, and they both innately know what the other person is thinking. It's almost like they can look at each other and they don't have to say anything. The other person knows exactly what the other person is thinking. And that's the exact kind of relationship that God is creating. He's creating a relationship whereby eventually we realize that the whole materialistic world, anything that has an appearance, everything that's physical, everything that people strive for, is all, for lack of a better word, a bunch of crap. And then once you start to search for truth, God, He waves into your life. And initially there's a certain euphoria. Wow, there's a truth. And I'm not in an existentially lonely place. But it's not about a euphoria. Relationships, people fall in love, there's a euphoria. And a lot of that love happens to be because before you were lonely and now you're happy. It's like drugs. The first time a guy takes drugs, my theory is the reason he gets such a high is not because the drugs are so great, because he can take it again, he doesn't get the high. But now there's a transformation from pain to pleasure. So part of it is a lack of all that pain, and that is what's great. So God's not looking to give us a high. He's looking for this intimate union of walking together. As the prophet says, what does God ask from you? And the key point is to walk humbly with God your Lord. Now, whenever it says in the Bible, God your Lord, and it says that all the time in the Jewish prayers, which were prophetic, what does that mean, God your Lord? I mean, obviously, if he's God, he's your Lord. The answer is there are two kinds of gods. There's a God who is beyond you, and then there's a God who is both beyond and he is communicating to you. And this is what the Baal Shem Tov revealed, that in every single moment, God is always communicating to us. There's never a moment that God is not speaking to you. The only question is, are you listening? You see, anything that happens in the universe is God's hint to you. God does not overpower. Like I said about me and my child, I'm never going to overpower, I'm never going to coerce him because I love him. But I'm always there for him. And God is a constant force in reality. So effectively, there are three dimensions to our reality. There's the physical dimension in which we don't see God. As Einstein said, you can live your life as though everything is a miracle or though nothing is. There are many people, unfortunately, according to Jim Clifton, 84% of the world is believers, which means 26% are not. 26% of the world do not see God anywhere. They live a life in which they see reality. On the other hand, there are other people who are looking for miracles. And then there's the third dimension. This is the true dimension. And that is how miracles occur within a natural way. In other words, everything is a miracle because everything is a communication. There's a certain wavelength of intimate communication. And again, this wavelength does not overpower, does not overwhelm you. In fact, it gives you the space to be you. All it is the advice in how to improve yourself and how to do the right thing. And now I'm going to give you a tip, something that's changed my life. It's a book from 365 Meditations from the Rebbe, written by Tzvi Freeman. And in there, the Rebbe says that if you ever want to know what God wants to tell you, just ask. And the first thought that comes to mind is God's answer to you. Again, just ask. The first thought that comes to mind is God's answer to you. And when I say this to people, they're always like, well, but when they try it, they find out that it's real. And, I was with a friend of mine, an interesting character, and to make a long story short, he was from England, and there was a doctor, not a Jewish doctor actually, very, very famous doctor who came to his home, and the doctor looked at the picture of the Rebbe, the grand rabbi of the Jewish people, and he says to this man's father, your grandfather just saved my life. So the man said, that's not my grandfather, that's the grand rabbi. But what do you mean he saved your life? I said, well, I was at a stoplight, and I had a vision where this rabbi sort of like made an apparition. He sort of appeared to me in this vision, and he made a sign that I should buckle my seatbelt. And I buckled my seatbelt, and later I had an accident. My car flipped over 3 times, and if not for that vision, I would have basically probably been dead. So this man's father said, wow, you got to tell everyone that story. He says, what, are you crazy? I'm a famous doctor. They'll think I've gone nuts. So we were sitting next to a psychiatrist who really deals with, unfortunately, people who have gone delusional. He says, a delusion is when it doesn't make sense in reality. But if there's something that is beyond reality, but it affects reality in a logical way, it makes sense, then it's not a delusion anymore. It's something that's beyond your reality, which makes a difference, which is exactly like going to a doctor. You don't know how that pill works. Most often the doctor himself doesn't know how the pill works. He does it simply because somebody discovered that this pill works. And so we do most of our lives, 90% of our lives are done on faith. Faith in the fact that something works, or faith in somebody else that we trust that he knows what he's talking about. So it's not a question of is this delusional or not, if it's beyond reality. It's a question if it works. And if you do it and you find, which is what I've found, that when I listen, it works, and when I don't listen, it doesn't work. So it means that there's a clear, and this is exactly what the verse says in the Bible, listen, I'm putting before you a world. In this world there are 2 dimensions. There's a dimension of blessing, which is an infinite dimension, because you could always be more blessed. One of the things that we make a mistake on is we think, okay, well, I've been blessed. Oh, it doesn't get better than this. This is awesome. But again, that's relative to your past. You have to think about relative to future. The future can always get better than the past because God is infinite, so he can always make things better. In fact, we say that when souls are in heaven, they're always going to a higher level. Things can always get better and better and better. So Number one, there's the world of blessing, which is an infinite world. It's always getting better. And then there's a world of curse, which things are always getting worse. And you have the choice. And the choice, God says very, very clearly, if you listen to me, you get blessings. If you don't listen to me, you get curses. Now, it's very important to understand this. The Shalom, one of the great Kabbalists, says, it's not that God is telling you, listen to me and I will bless you. This is very, very, very important to understand, because everybody in the religious world makes this mistake. Oh, if I listen to God, I will get blessed. It doesn't work like that. We all make these paradigms. Oh, God wants this, I'm going to do. And oh, it didn't work. It doesn't work like that. It works like this. If you ask God and you listen to what He says, automatically you'll be blessed. And again, it's the same example of me and my son. My son, he's 9 years old. Okay, he's a very sweet, precocious boy, but what does he know?
7 miles.
Sorry.
Exit right.
So what does he know? The answer is that he doesn't know much in terms of real reality, real experience in life. So if he listens to me, what is he going to gain? He's going to gain all of my experience. What does God have? God has infinite knowledge, infinite experience. I mean, He's been around from the beginning of time. He's seen it all. So that means that if I listen to God, it will be good. Why? Because I listen to God. Not because God is making things good, but because there's a natural law in life in which if you do what's going to be good for you, it's going to be good. And if you don't listen to God, God's not punishing you. It's just, if my son doesn't listen to me and I know better than him what reality is going to be. So the bottom line is, he's going to suffer. He's not going to suffer because, God forbid, I'm punishing him. I love him unconditionally. I would never, ever, ever hurt him. It's only that the bottom line is that if you do something which is stupid, something which is not in your interest, it's going to hurt you. And so this is the choice that we have in life. We have a choice of accessing, let's call it the infinite third dimension, in which the infinite reality, both beyond but within our reality, is here. And if we do that, then we live a blessed life.
7.8 miles.
Okay, guys, good luck.